Some folks have asked if I do a video of the complete process of breaking the bead, mounting new tires, and balancing them, and how I do that all in my small little garage here. And so I've got this set of summer tires. Right now I've got the winter tires on the Accord, and these are right about down to the wear bar. See, pretty much right at the edge of the red zone. And so I'll be replacing these with a new set of Kumos and take you along if you're interested. So the first step is to just pull out the valve core to let all the air out of the tire. Now for bead breaking, I use this older tire changer that I used to use before I got the Lucid tool. It's a little sturdier for bead breaking than the Harbor Freight, but the Harbor Freight worked for a long time for me too. And I use this little mat just to protect the rim from getting beat up. I find it works best to start from the front. The front is always easier because the drop center is closer to the outside of the rim than the other side. You also want to stay away from the tire pressure sensor if you have them. These rims don't have them, so it's not a big concern. Like I said, the top side's usually the easier one, and the back side requires a little bit more muscle power. Now I find it works best to just work your way around it. The back side is tougher, and if you try to get it all in one spot, you'll just get frustrated. So I find it works best if you just work around it a little bit at a time. I think we're just about there. Okay, so the bead is broken all the way around. Probably a good time to take off the old weights if you've got any on it. So if you're wondering why I don't have it mounted down, it's just because I have to move it out of the way in order to park my car in here. So I've just got it mounted down with some wing nuts. And then I can just take the tire changer right off, and then the base comes apart, and it's really easy to just throw that somewhere to store it. Alright, so then we just throw the wheel up there on the tire changer. I'm using this centering cone that came from Lucid, and then an extra spacer that I added. And then just a polyethylene dowel to keep the wheel from spinning around. And we can put the duckbill in place. And I find it helps to really go to town with the lubrication. I think the tire shops won't even lubricate to take it off, but doing it manually, it's a big help to put some lube in there, I find. Okay, and then when you start, you want to start taking the tire off just beyond the tire pressure sensor if you have them. This wheel doesn't have them, but just to prevent damage there. So you can line the duckbill tool up, get that in place and lock it down. Okay, and then you grab the tire iron and you can insert it in there. It's got a little hook on the end of it. and you hook the edge of the wheel there with it, and just pull that up over. And now what I've shown in previous videos is I use this polyethylene tool and insert it in the back. I find if I don't, the wheel just tends to ride around and not want to pull up over the rim. So I find if I insert that in there, then as I pull around, it wants to pull the tire over the edge of the rim easier. Okay, and then we can repeat the process on the inner bead. Pull it up over, and then insert the polyethylene tool alongside it. Hold them in place, and then we can just rotate around. So I like to replace the valve stems. I think Eric Go showed a neat trick, which is if you just cut it, the base of it in a few places, then you can grab your diagonal cutters and just pull it right out pretty easily, and then the bottom part usually just comes off pretty easily too. So then you want to make sure that that seat in there for it is nice and clean and free of debris, so it makes a good seal. And you can grab your new valve stem, pull it through, thread it onto your valve stem puller tool. I'll put a little lubrication on that just to make it slide through a little bit easier. Then I use this little rubber mat just to protect the rim from getting marred up, since I don't have one of those mar-free pullers. And pop it into place. Okay, and then you'll want to go in and make sure your bead seats are in good shape, that there's no built-up debris. If it did have bead sealer on it, then you're going to want to probably hit it with a wire reel or something. So again, I find it really helps to lubricate well, so I lubricate both of the bead seats. And then I usually throw a little bit up on the inside as well. It just helps it seat better, it seems. Okay, and then grab your new tire. We'll throw some lube on that as well. Be sure to check if your tires have an outside. So these have a mark saying that this side has to go on the outside. And if you have tire pressure sensors, you want to start mounting on the opposite side from them to prevent damage. Again, these don't have any. So here you can see where that spacer helps, because you really don't have a lot of room here. So getting the whole unit up a little bit higher helps a lot. So when you're mounted in here, you want the tire so that the front edge of it is under the duckbill head and the back edge is over the top. It kind of, usually it just finds the right home as you start to rotate it around, I find. Again, you'll see that more on the next feed, I think. Just have better visibility. Okay, let me rotate around to give you the best vantage point here. So that's how you want it set up. So the back of the tire is riding over the duckbill, and the front goes of the tire is going to ride down underneath the front of the duckbill, and that keeps the bead of the tire on the tool rather than on the rim, and prevents damage. The other thing that helps a lot is to use a tool to keep the tire down in the drop center. So that keeps this side in the drop center as we're rotating around, which gives more clearance in order to get the other side on okay. So then we just rotate around. Once you get it a little bit of pressure on it, the tire will just naturally find its right spot on the duckbill. So and again, if you're doing this right, then it really should be just like almost one arm worth of effort. It shouldn't really take a lot of force as you're rotating around. I'm not a huge guy, and I could do it one-handed basically. Just that's a good indication that you are getting the other side down in the drop center and everything's working correctly. And then you can just inflate the tire to seat the bead. Probably be a little bit noisy with the compressor when it starts going. You'll just stand back a little so you don't get splashed. So for balancing the wheels, I'll be using this Atlas WBHS wheel balancer. HS stands for hand spin, so it's not motorized. So you spin the wheel by hand. It is a dynamic balancer, so it'll balance the weight on the inside and outside of the wheel, and it has settings for a different variety of weight positions. I'm really happy with how it works. It's also highly portable. It's got wheels right on the base, so it's really easy to wheel around. It's overall a very small unit. I think it was designed to be able to move from bay to bay in a big shop, but it's a nice unit. Unfortunately, I think they might not make it anymore. Before I got that, I did try the Harbor Freight static balancer, as you can see there. This is the static balancer, so it only balances the weight around the circumference of the wheel. It can't balance the weight from the inside to the outside edge of the wheel at all. But even at that, I found the Harbor Freight bubble balancer didn't do a good job even for static balance. The idea is you mount the wheel on there, and this ring depresses down and centers your wheel on this cone. And then you read the bubble on the top and know where to add weight to it. But what I found is it wasn't reproducible. If I balanced a wheel on it and got it all perfectly balanced, if I took the wheel off and put it back on, it would give me a different answer, which is a sure sign that it wasn't reproducible and not accurate. Okay, so first you want to make sure there's no wheel weights or a lot of debris on the inside of your wheel. Now when you're mounting the wheel, the instructions recommend turning the wheel as you mount it and moving it around a little bit. This helps the centering cone push out and center well, so you're sure that the wheel is mounted on there right on the center position. Okay, and then we'll tighten that down. Now we do have to set up a few things. First thing is we have to get the weight positions where we want them. So we're going to be doing the stick-on weights on the inside and outside of the rim. So that's aluminum mode 2. I do have the FN style weights that mount to the inside of the rim, but I usually just use the stick-ons on the inside. I just prefer them. They're readily available, cheap, and they never seem to come off or corrode. Then we have to set up a few measurements. The first is the distance to the inside of the rim, which is about 77. And then the width of the rim, 8.5. And then the diameter of the wheel, which is 17 in this case. So now we're all set up, and now we just give it a spin by hand until it says go, and that means it's going fast enough for it to make the measurement. Then when it says off, it's made its measurement, so then you can just hit the brake. And it wants 0.75 ounces on the inside and 0.75 ounces on the outside. So now it's a little bit hard reaching under there to get the stick-on weights on, so I usually just mark where they go. So that'll be 0.75 on the outside. And then we'll find out where the inside ones want to go. And then those will be the 0.75 on the inside. So then I just clean off the spot where the weights are going to go. So it'll stick well. Go grab a few weights here. So it's 0.75 ounces, so that's 3/4 ounce weights in each location. So this is the outside location here. Put it right down on the bottom there. And then just press those weights in place. And then there's 0.75 up in this location. Okay, and then once the weights are in place, then we just give it another spin. And then it's zeroed out, so that indicates it's happy with the weights and it's all in balance.